to love. This is a campaign of love. Shalom. It's all fantastic. We are at the kickoff point of 11 months of excitement as George Galloway launches his campaign and rolls over London, rolls over this country with a message that I think needs to be heard. There's a message that I'm particularly interested in, and that message is to clean up the city of London. Right. Now, first of all, how many of you here came this evening, actually, because you thought you would see Stacy? Yes. I know that's the truth. I'm just, she's the brains of the operation. She says to say hello. She's working on our next episode. Monday is our very busy day for us. Let me get into what I think are some of the interesting and salient points that we need to keep in mind as you decide who to put as your mayor in this fine town. I want to draw your attention to a quote from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, one of the richest guys in the world. He's either the second or third richest guy in the world. He said, quote, "There's class warfare, all right, but it's my class, the rich class, that's making war. And we're winning." That's right. It's no secret, is it? It's no secret that the rich are at war with everybody else. That's no secret. Who's standing up? Who's fighting? Who's putting in the time, the effort, the policies? Let's continue. By the way, if I go too far off at a tangent, just reel me in. Let's talk about what Bill Black said. It was a guy back in the 1980s who put 1,500 bankers in jail as part of the savings and loan crisis. Let me tell you what he said. He said the city of London became the most criminogenic environment in the world for financial fraud, which is why so many UK banks and units of foreign banks located in the city have caused the major scandals in the UK and globally. All of these major global scandals run through the city of London. Bernie Madoff, AIG, the London Whale, Lehman Brothers, LIBOR scandal, Forex scandal. They outsource their fraud to the city of London because the city of London is where you can get away with the most egregious financial crimes of anywhere in the world. Now, this has got to end. I would think to restore some balance, to restore some equitable distribution of wealth, you need to go after where all that wealth is being concentrated in ways that, according to one of the top regulators in the world, signifies one of the most criminogenic environments in the world. I mean, look at this HSBC scandals for a second, just to give you 5 of the latest highlights of HSBC. LIBOR rigging, 100,000 fake Swiss accounts for tax evasion, violated U.S. sanctions on Iran by removing the word Iran from wire transfers. U.S. sent a cease and desist letter to stop funding of al-Qaeda, and they continued. Number 5, HSBC worked directly with the Sinaloa drug cartel, directly responsible for a huge, massive crime wave and death waves, tens of thousands of people due to the drug wars that HSBC openly and gladly funds. Their penalties are typically a fine which is maybe 5 or 10% of the money that they stole. Let's ask our friend Mark Carney, who runs the Bank of England, what he has to say about these corrupt bankers. I know that he says on some occasions that they should be punished, but he also has said that putting bankers in jail will not fix the bad behavior. By the way, in Iceland, they put bankers in jail, and they prosecuted the bad bankers, and now they've got the first and fastest growing economy in Europe because they got rid of the problem. The problem was the bankers. So here's Mark Carney, who says, oh, you can't put these bankers in jail. Meanwhile, Bank of England has opened a probe into whether the staff of the Bank of England has rigged auctions before quantitative easing. Bank of England caught in rigging and now caught in collusion with Treasury and trying to hide £48 billion black hole of debt as part of the $37 billion stolen by Osborne from various pensioners and insurers. And it's causing a lot of stress. I mean, you've heard that a lot of bankers are killing themselves. A lot of that is due because they're being forced to commit acts of criminal behavior. A stressed Bank of England official stabbed himself to death. He's 52 years old, found in his car after stabbing himself to death. And then here's some very strange behavior that you find in the banking community when you force people to misbehave and commit crimes to support a system that's sucking the wealth out of the economy as a whole and depositing it into the accounts of the worst amongst us, the kleptocrats. It's a kakistocracy. A kakistocracy. Kakistocracy. Here's an interesting tidbit from Lloyd's Bank. The pressure was such that in one case, an advisor missold insurance to himself, his wife, and a colleague to make his quota, needing to missell a certain volume of fake insurance each month to keep his job. J.P. Morgan associate and wife found dead in an apparent murder-suicide inside their New Jersey home. So this guy bought insurance on his wife, killed her, then to make more money, killed himself. It drives people to act insanely. When you give people unlimited amounts of money at 0% interest rate to make speculative bets, and if they go bust, the government bails them out, expect the worst. Expect the worst from people. In this country, of course, the debt under Osborne has doubled. It's 1.4 trillion pounds. It was 700 billion pounds when he took over. And to make the debt look smaller, they've decided to figure out ways to make the GDP look bigger. And one of the ways that they decided to do that is that sex and drugs are now going to be included in Britain's GDP. This will add 10 billion pounds to the accounts. So according to the Office of National Statistics, each of the UK's 60,000 prostitutes took 25 clients a week at an average price of £67 each. 38,000 heroin users added 754 million pounds at 37 grams per heroin. This is the Office of National Statistics. This is your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen, figuring out how to boost the GDP so that the debt looks smaller. I mean, I can imagine George Osborne at number 11 Downing Street saying, does my debt look bad in these jeans? But it gets even more, this is a scandal that was not adequately covered in my view. Osborne's aide crack shame. A top advisor to George Osborne has been caught in a videotape smoking crack. Tory economics policy forecaster Professor Douglas McWilliams took the illegal drug during a late-night binge in a squalid London flat. A source said he's a regular. This is the guy who's writing the campaign and the policy to add crack cocaine to the GDP. Think about it. He's monetizing his own addiction. What about the legal environment? Here's a judge in the UK, Maria Poulet. She took refuge on two RBS bankers who have walked away from £3 million property fraud without jail time because the judge, Rebecca Maria Poulet, believes they've already suffered as they were embarrassed by the incident. So this is setting up, I think you see where we're going here. There's a city of London where there's no legal standards. Fraud is permitted. There's no rule of law. The government keeps interest rates near 0% so that these four major insolvent banks, HSBC, Lloyd's, RBS, Barclays, can continue to roll over massive amounts of debt on their books that they claim is worth 100 cents on the dollar, but is actually worth zero. And the only way that this will ever come to light is if there's some kind of A, rule of law imposed, or B, a global bond market crash. So you can take your pick. But of course, this is a global problem. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder mentioned, as I'm sure you heard this quote, some banks are too big to prosecute. He went on to say that in the Senate committee, they're too big to jail. For banks will spread from fraud cases to terrorist financing and money laundering, as we've seen with HSBC. So now you have banks that are not only too big to fail, but too big to jail. So I will leave you with one ray of hope. There was somebody who did make a protest. The headline is, "That's the wrong kind of deposit. Barclays bank customer poos all over the floor." The middle-aged man, described as well-to-do, walked calmly into a branch and started leaving non-monetary deposits on the floor from the bottom of his shorts in front of horrified customers. One eyewitness said the man looked calm but angry. And let's see, of course, being the couple of visuals here, I guess this hall is such that you will be able to grasp this. This is actually a very succinct photo. I use my very advanced audiovisual technology. But I think even in the back, you can see we've got a line that goes up quite dramatically here, and a line that stays relatively flat and uninteresting down here. This is the growth of the global derivatives market. These are unsecured financial bets concatenated by bankers out of thin air to roll over bad debts and pay themselves huge bonuses. Here's the GDP down here of the world going absolutely nowhere. And yet when you listen to the policymakers and George Osborne and others, they'll say that we need more of this to create some growth down here. And yet, and nowhere over these past years has it ever been true. The debt in the last 7 years in the globe has gone from, it's been increased by $60 trillion. It's gone from 140 trillion to almost $200 trillion in debt. The total global GDP is 60 trillion, and yet there hasn't been any growth. So this is clearly, I think, when you want to look at the cause and effect and dig down into what's going on here and why I'm excited to be supporting George Galloway and part of this campaign, is that he's already made statements and said that he wants to go after the City of London, bring about some rule of law, but I think that's, at a very minimum, something we should all be supporting of. The consequences of this, I will tell you quite honestly, if you look at Iceland, when they did bring in the rule of law, when they did reorganize the banking system, they went through a 2 years of hell, let's be quite honest. But on the other side of that, they kept their sovereignty, they kept their dignity. And at this rate, the UK is at risk of losing both sovereignty and dignity. So with that, I will turn it back to the MC. Thank you very much, and go Kurt.